It is the year 2016, and Batman is dark and violent. In the world of film, he's darker and more violent than he's ever been. The fucking fly. It is the year 2016, and Batman is dark and violent. In the world of film, he's darker and more violent than he's ever... Fucking fly! It is 2016, and Batman is dark and violent. In the world of film, he's darker and more violent than he's ever been, with his latest film receiving an R rating for violence. Sadly, it's just an R rating for violence, in case you were hoping to see Superman get pegged by Lois Lane. But it wasn't always this way. In the halcyon year of 1997, when I was just 4 years old, a very different Batman movie roared into cinemas. A very, very bad one. It immediately became infamous as one of the worst superhero movies ever made, and a laughingstock of the internet.
A bat credit card!
And as the endlessly contrarian era of internet criticism marches on, it's remained one of the few films to draw no attempts at critical reevaluation. Everybody seems perfectly happy to leave this one on the garbage heap of history. But, is it truly without any merit? Tonight, on Bad Reviews, in defense of Batman and Rob...
My name is Daniel Steckley, and my obsession is failure. I believe that the secrets to success lie in understanding the mistakes of the past. I'm on a mission to investigate the greatest flops, bombs, and busts in every form of media. From movies to television, music to video games, anime and comics too, the things I review are diverse, but they all have one thing in common. They've all had some very, very bad reviews.
The first thing that always comes up in a discussion of Batman and Robin is that it's campy, and yes, you have correctly assessed the tone of a film. Good job.
I'm feeling hot.
I find that unlikely.
Batman and Robin is staggeringly campy. And no, it does not fit with the tone of the Tim Burton Batman movies, but I don't think it really ever could. Let's talk about Batman villains. The Tim Burton Batman movies basically exhaust the entirety of Batman's rogues gallery that can be made to work nicely in the dark gothic tone of those films. Batman Forever could probably have made Two-Face work in that tone, and the Riddler too if they'd kept up the extremes of Batman Returns, but Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze, well, they're both kinda silly. This is not to say that they're bad, okay? It's just that live action has different standards for what's reasonable than comics and cartoons do. I mean, the very concept of a guy dressing up as a bat to fight crime in the first place is already pretty fucking silly. The Burton films resolved that by taking on an unworldly, nearly operatic tone, and the Nolan films resolved it by downplaying the silliness as much as possible, to the point that Batman, as he's portrayed in the Dark Knight trilogy, is closer to Iron Man than he is to the Dark Knight, as Tim Burton portrayed him. When Batman and Robin premiered, it was immediately compared to the 1960s Batman TV show, and always in a way that suggested the critic thought they were clever for making the comparison. Like, there were people who saw this scene and thought, the guy who made this has never seen the Adam West Batman show.
Salt and corrosion. The infamous old enemies of the crime fighter.
In fact, let's talk about the Adam West Batman show for a minute. Because, in fairness to those critics, it really is apt to compare Batman and Robin to the Adam West Batman show, because they are both deliberately campy takes on Batman. It's just that, at some point, and by at some point I mean the 1980s, people, and by people I mean comic book nerds, forgot that the Adam West Batman show was a joke on purpose, and just thought of it as that elephant in the room, that thing that turned Batman into a national punchline. And yeah, you can talk about how Adam West Batman was a huge shadow that loomed over the whole property until Tim Burton came along, but that's not really a criticism of the show itself. Same as Batman and Robin being campy and killing the franchise isn't really a criticism of the movie itself as a work of art. I mean, by that standard, you could lob a lot more serious criticism at the X-Files for normalizing belief in conspiracy theories, or more on point at Batman Year One for turning Batman into Daredevil with the serial numbers filed off. Okay, so by now the obvious rebuttal emerges. DStecks, just because it's campy on purpose, that doesn't mean it's good. And I want to make one thing clear, okay? Batman and Robin is not good. It is god-awful.
Bruce, it's me, Barbara.
And the biggest reason why is that it just can't commit to being campy. Okay, so one of the weirdest parts of this movie is that there's no real A plot. Like, Batman and Robin sort of have a conflict, but neither character grows as a person, and the conflict isn't resolved so much as it just sort of stops. So, most of the film revolves around its B plot, which is that Alfred is dying.
Alfred's not sick. He's dying.
Happy, happy, fun, fun. The Alfred scenes are played hideously straight, and from a non-jokey standpoint, they're legitimately the best part of the movie, but they also ruin it. Because George Clooney and Michael Gough are both actually really good actors, and they have a couple actually really good scenes in this movie, to the point where I'd almost say they wouldn't feel out of place in Christopher Nolan's Batman films, but if anything, they're more emotionally honest than anything in those sterile movies.
Alfred, am I pig-headed? Is it always my way or the highway?
Why, yes, actually. Death and chance stole your parents. But rather than become a victim, you have done everything in your power to control the fates. For what is Batman, if not an effort to master the chaos that sweeps our world? An attempt to control death itself.
Like, when George Clooney is trying, he's a damn good Bruce Wayne, and Michael Gough is Alfred, but these scenes could not feel more out of place in a movie that otherwise is to Batman as Austin Powers is to James Bond. But as good as George Clooney is at being Bruce Wayne, once he's stuck in the rubber suit, he stops giving even one single fuck.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
From things I've heard about production, I believe Joel Schumacher was more hands-off during the Batman scenes, and Clooney's performance is where it shows the most. In his scenes with Michael Gough, he does a great job of selling his relationship with the man, despite now being the third actor to play Bruce Wayne opposite him. But once he's in the Batsuit, he's just a guy reading lines.
This is why Superman works alone.
And Chris O'Donnell is just awful. His Robin is a smug, smarmy little shit that the film expects us to side with over Batman, despite his massive hubris.
Look, I want a Robin signal in the sky, all right? I'm tired of living in your shadow.
From the very first line of the film,
I want a car.
he creates an image of a bratty, spoiled child, and the central arc of the film isn't Robin learning to not be such an impossible shit, it's Batman learning to not be so protective of him. I don't know many behind-the-scenes details, but from things I've heard about comparable projects, superhero movies of the era were infamous for having too many cooks in the kitchen when it came to writing storylines. I don't know for sure, but that could be a factor in why this movie is so massively disjointed. But regardless of why, Batman and Robin is a deeply confused film. Also, did I mention extreme sports? Because 1997. I feel like it needs to be said, though, explicitly, that when Batman and Robin isn't getting bogged down with Alfred or Batgirl, that it is fucking hilarious. Arnold Schwarzenegger is gloriously cheesy.
All right, everyone, chill.
I have never in my life seen an actor be simultaneously hideously miscast while also perfectly cast.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
He gets top billing, and this movie probably represents the final point at which Arnie would get billing over George Clooney. And Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy is just disastrous, but also amazing. Like, half the time she's doing a Jessica Rabbit impression for some reason, and half the time she's just not. So it's like halfway through filming, she was just like, oh, I'm gonna play the character with a 50s accent now. We can reshoot those scenes, right? Right? And Alicia Silverstone.
Actually, I'm looking for Alfred Pennyworth.
She's Alicia Silverstone.
Both my parents were killed in a car accident 5 years ago.
And she's playing Batgirl.
Bruce, it's me, Barbara.
Sort of. It's fucking insane when she shares a screen with Michael Gough, because it feels like one of the schmucks from Birdemic stumbled onto the set of an Oscar bait movie.
Well, I don't suppose they have fax machines on elephants.
I've been trying to reach him with no success. When one grows ancient, one yearns for family.
And I am not exaggerating, okay? Alicia Silverstone's acting in this is barely better than Alan fucking Bach. I do not know how to pronounce his last name. How did this not come up in the Birdemic 2 review? Speaking of which, I'd like to note that Batgirl in this movie is not Barbara Gordon. She's actually presented as Alfred's niece in this movie instead of Jim Gordon's daughter. Commissioner Gordon's barely in the movie. I guess because they didn't need Batgirl to get sexually humiliated and then crippled, they didn't need it to be Babs. Batman and Robin, still better than The Killing Joke. While we're talking about the movie positively, something I absolutely have to bring up is the art direction of Gotham in the film. I love it, 100% unironically. Remember, big corporate pictures like this one are such creative patchworks that it's totally possible for an isolated element of it to be genuinely great, even if the rest isn't. Hi, the art design of the prequels. And Gotham, as it's portrayed in Batman and Robin, is an Art Deco Renaissance dreamscape. Tim Burton's Gotham was 1950s New York, but overgrown. It was Art Deco by way of H.R. Giger. Schumacher's Gotham isn't like anything real. It's a symbol more than a physical place. It's the dream and the nightmare of the American city, made concrete and steel. Impossibly massive Renaissance statues entangle themselves into the cityscape. Never at any point do you see the ground in Gotham. It's never daytime, and you never see the edge of the city. It's more comparable to Rapture or Coruscant than anything that exists in reality. Batman and Robin is a feast for the eyes when it doesn't look like Los Luchadores.
Luchadores, the faceless heroes, Lucha Libre and Mascarados, Lobo Fuerte and Turbine together, meet Villanos, champions forever.
The epitome of this is the observatory. It's an entire observatory, top to bottom, held aloft by this enormous statue. This is impossible for so many reasons. Okay, first of all, there's no material you could make that statue out of that would be able to hold that building aloft, especially one with a heavy telescope inside made entirely of metal. Second, putting an observatory in the middle of a city is, like, do you live in a city? Is it nighttime? Go outside and tell me how many stars you see. Oh, that's right, none, because of this thing called light pollution. And when the observatory collapses at the end of the movie, it explodes! And none of this matters. Before every take of a fight scene, Joel Schumacher would yell, "Remember, this is a cartoon." But the Gotham of this movie is more like a painting. It really truly deserves to be in a better Batman movie than this. It's an utterly bizarre experience watching Batman and Robin today, because this is a movie that could not happen anymore. Not that a Batman movie couldn't be shitty, oh no, but Batman and Robin is sort of an artifact of a weird era in Hollywood. It's from the time before Hollywood put blind faith in branding. It's like, Batman is one of the most valuable intellectual properties on the planet, and the Burton-Schumacher movies treat it like a shitty old sofa the owner doesn't care if you spill ketchup on, because it wasn't an institution of cinema. This was an era where adaptational faithfulness was a happy accident. And it's easy to try to pin it on just one thing that happened to Hollywood between Batman and Robin and Batman Begins, but so many things happened that not even 20 years later, Batman and Robin feels like a movie from another planet. There are movies from the 80s that aren't this far removed from modern tastes. Batman and Robin might also be the last superhero movie to use more practical effects than CGI. Those Gotham cityscapes I was gushing over, they're all very obviously models. The movie does have a handful of CGI shots, but they're really immediately noticeable, and their effect is to make you realize, hey, there's hardly any CGI in this $100 million superhero movie. This is not to say that the practical effects look good. They look like pig shit. It is insane how cheap this movie looks. It really, truly looks like a cheap kids show, but like on a bigger scale. Like, a kids show wouldn't have the budget to build as many models as Batman and Robin does, or to be as reliant on sets as Batman and Robin is, but it's that level of quality, you know? Like, if Saban had made a Batman show in the 90s and you cut it together into a movie, Batman and Robin is what it would look like. Except for Bane's transformation, which I really like the effects here, even if they are dated as hell. I think if I can look at an effect and say, I'm not totally sure how they did that, then that's cool in my book. All that having been said, Batman and Robin's cheapness only adds to its camp appeal. The outfits all look stupid. Except for maybe Arnie without the suit on. This is absolutely the most makeup he's ever had on for a role, and the contacts look pretty good. Poison Ivy looks like she got lost on her way to the Spice Girls audition. And, of course, Batman and Robin's batsuits are anatomically correct. This is the elephant in the room whenever you try to discuss Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin have nipples on their batsuits. It's because they're gay. I'm not trying to make some kind of 6th grade level joke here. I'm serious. Batman and Robin is a movie about the perils of heterosexuality. I am dead fucking serious. The film opens on male-gazy shots of our heroes suiting up, the camera focusing on their asses and their groins. These are the opening shots of the movie. That's the reason for the Renaissance statue motif. The batsuits have nipples for the same reason that ancient Greek breastplates did, out of reverence for the male body as the source of power. This is fundamentally what Batman and Robin is about, male bodies. I am dead fucking serious. The opening line of the film is,
I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
Already we can see that there is a rift in Batman and Robin's relationship, and it is related to desire for women. The very first line of the movie is about how desire for women is already damaging their partnership. I am dead fucking serious. The first villain of the film, Mr. Freeze, is motivated by devotion to his wife, who is, for all intents and purposes, dead. He's shown to have been a great scientist, a Nobel Prize winner, whose devotion to a woman drives him to evil. And this isn't shown to be worthwhile or tragic. Poison Ivy pulls the plug on his wife in a fit of pique, because women cannot be trusted. I am dead fucking serious. Poison Ivy drives the conflict of the film, with the heroes competing for her affections even as they know that she is evil.
Can't believe we were fighting over a bad guy.
Bad, yes. Guy, no.
Well, I'm totally over, all right? Positively.
Me too, definitely. Great stems, though.
Buds, too.
Yeah, those are nice.
Because desire for women is something that bypasses rationality and bedevils men who cast aside superior relationships with each other in order to pursue someone who cannot love them back as another man can. This is the actual point the movie is trying to make. I am dead fucking serious. Bane, the third villain, is a mindless thrall to Poison Ivy, created to be the ultimate soldier but used as a mere lackey. Everything bad in this movie happens because of women, because of heterosexuality. Bruce Wayne sort of has a love interest, sort of, but she disappears halfway through the movie after a conversation that feels like Bruce spending 5 minutes trying to come out of the closet to her.
I know you've had your wild nights.
Wild doesn't quite cover it.
Their conflict hinges on Bruce refusing to commit to loving her. But there is one person in the movie Bruce confesses his love for.
I love you, old man.
And I love you too.
I am dead fucking serious. Also, Batgirl is there because the executives wanted Batgirl to be there so they could capture some of the teen girl demo too, which is why they cast Alicia Silverstone, because she just had a movie that was a big hit with the teenage girl demo, instead of casting a woman who can actually, act.
You're about to become compost.
I am dead fucking serious. There really isn't much more else to talk about with Batman and Robin. Sometimes when I'm writing a review, I'll go back later and think, oh, I can't believe I forgot to include this or that. But here I'm honestly kind of struggling to come up with more things to talk about. Batman and Robin is everything dumb and shitty about 90s Hollywood that 9/11 would wash away. Spider-Man and X-Men would come and completely change the game, creating the modern superhero format. Batman and Robin is a relic of a half-formed age. And while it has its campy pleasures, there's nothing in it that makes me say, damn, they don't make them like this anymore. Batman and Robin is to the 90s what Cobra is to the 80s. It is anti-nostalgia. It is the embodiment of why your childhood wasn't as great as you thought it was. Kids today get to grow up with a universe of Marvel movies. We got Batman and Robin. That having been said, I truly feel like Batman and Robin is an undiscovered good bad movie. If you haven't seen it, give it a watch. And if you saw it back when it was released and hated it, try rewatching it. If you don't bring to it the baggage of it being supposedly a real Batman movie, you'll have a much better time. And if you hate Batman and Robin for ruining Batman, well, guess what? Batman is stupid. It's not a good concept. It can be interpreted into greatness, sure, but Batman only has the greatness that you make of it. Batman and Robin is far from a great take on Batman, but it doesn't do anything to diminish the concept. So, it's time for Batman and Robin to receive its Suckville Index. Batman and Robin clocks in at a comfortable 1. The only thing holding it back from being a legitimately good campster piece are the tone-destroying, pace-killing Alfred scenes. But if you can get through them, Batman and Robin is a pretty good time. It is one of the campiest movies ever made, so if you'd like to see $140 million spent sarcastically, then this is the movie for you. Next week on Bad Reviews, I'm gonna do something about these fucking flies. Also, Manos, the Hands of Fate. I'm Daniel Steckley, and I'm gonna go get some fucking raid. I'd like to take a moment to thank by name Adam Ali, Ian Wright, and Lyle Groniger for being such generous Patreon backers. If you'd like your name read aloud at the end of the show or featured in the credits, consider backing Bad Reviews at www.patreon.com/DStecks. And to those who are already backing me, thank you all for your support.
Don't know what you're saying. Perhaps you've not been told. I don't think it's because you're growing cold. But maybe. So please take a bow as I raise my glass. Here's to the president of wishful thinking. Here's to the king who had it all. Here's to the man who could have really made a difference. You dropped the ball.
And you are?
Batgirl.
That's not awfully PC. What about bad person or bad woman?
Bruce, it's me, Barbara.